Hello. I know I said I would get around to this tutorial a long time ago, and I apologize for the big delay on actually getting to it, but let's jump right into it, I guess. So, basically, what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and take our lightsaber and actually get it so that we can actually use it. And it'll kind of work like this. It'll leave little streaks when we slash the walls. And we'll be able to move around. And, of course, put it away and take it out. And we'll also be looking at how to set up things like dual-bladed lightsabers, or for you Kylo Ren fans, something like this maybe. So, let's go ahead and jump right into this. So, we'll go ahead and get rid of this. And we'll open up mostly a new project. I haven't changed anything with the character blueprint yet. All I've done is I've added in a couple of animation starter packs from the Marketplace. So I got the Twin Blade anim set, I got the Twin Blades expansion, and then the anim starter pack. And then, just for the sake of having something more interesting to look at, I've of course got my character mesh in here. He's broken up into several parts, so we've got the main body, and then we have the actual clothing. So we'll go ahead and set those up real quick, and we'll be back in just a second. Okay, so we have our character mesh set up now, and because it's broken up into different meshes, I had to go in here and set the main mesh as the character's main body, and then I set up a additional skeletal mesh for the robe and another one for the hair, and then went into the construction script and set up a master pose component, setting both of these to the mesh so that they'll follow the animations from the main mesh. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to set up our socket for where we're going to actually attach the weapon at. So let's open up our mesh, let's go into our skeleton, and it is rigged up to the regular mannequin skeleton for the default for the third-person template, so that'll make things a little bit easier. So there's a couple of different ways you can do this, of course, but you can either attach the socket directly to an IK handle if your animations have anything going on with those. Otherwise, you may want to put the socket onto the hand bone itself. In my case, because I'm using the twin blade animations, I'm going to go ahead and use the IK target for the right hand. So I'll go ahead and add a socket. We will go ahead and rename this. We'll call it weapon socket R. We'll probably need to adjust this a little bit, so let's clear these out so that there. And we're going to move this down, probably right about here. And we're probably going to need to rotate this, but first let's go back into our character. Actually, no. We want to set up our weapon first, so we'll create a new class. We'll make it a actor. Call this lightsaber underscore BP. And then we'll go ahead and go in here, and we want to get our weapon, which will be the lightsaber mesh, and we will add that. My mesh is a little bit oversized, so we will scale that down. It might be too far. We can adjust this later. And then we want to get our blade, and we want want to add this as well. And we're going to adjust the position of this so that it's somewhere towards the top. We'll turn off our snapping so we can adjust it a little bit more closely. So like right about there. And of course, if you followed my previous tutorial, granted that was a long time ago, basically the blade itself is actually a static mesh. And this is already pre-configured a little bit, but basically it's just a cylinder mesh with a slight point at the tip to give it a blade-like appearance like you would see in the actual lightsabers in like the cartoons or the movies. And then I added in 3 sockets. So you got your base socket, your center socket, and then your tip socket. And these are going to be used for determining how the traces go for when you're swinging the weapon. For this video, we're just going to focus on getting the weapon set up and getting it so the player can swing it. So we're going to go ahead, go back in here. We're going to compile, save. We're going to go back into our character, and we are going to scroll all the way down. And we want a child actor. And we'll call this weapon R. Then we'll go over here and we will set our actor to be the lightsaber. And yeah, it does look like it's a little bit small, so let's scale this up slightly. Still a little small. That should be good. We're going to pop that onto the right socket. Now you notice that the character is moving around, but the lightsaber is not. That's because the default animations for the third-person template do not have any animations for the IK targets. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to replace our animation. So we'll go ahead and we'll open this up, and then this is going to be the animation blend space that controls movement. And if we go on here and we show sockets, we'll see that our socket is there, but it's not moving because the IK target is not moving. So to fix that, we're going to go ahead and grab one of our animations. So let's go with one of our in-place animations. We will add a folder, call this mannequin to let us know that this is for retargeted animations. And then we will go ahead and we will grab, let's use the idle. And first up, let's go into the skeleton for this. Check the retarget manager, make sure that that's set up properly. Then we'll go into the other one, make sure that that's set up, which it's not. So let's go ahead, select humanoid rig. That'll set all of the bones up to the default for the mannequin. And then we'll go ahead and save that, close that, and then I want to go back here. And let's go ahead and grab that. We'll grab our walk, and we'll grab the run. And we will right click, go to retarget, duplicate animations and retarget. And we want to select our mannequin mesh for the default third person template. We'll go in here, we will go ahead, go in place, go to our folder where we set up the mannequin folder. Click OK, and then click retarget, and that should copy them over to the mannequin folder. So now they'll be over here. So let's go ahead and, because you see that the animations aren't showing up, so we need to force it to refresh. So okay, now we have our animations, so we'll go ahead and we'll drop the idle here. We'll drop our walk here, so now should be walking, and you see that the IK target and the socket are moving now. And then if we go a little bit further to our run, we can see that once again the socket's moving. So now that that's set up, we don't really need to do too much else with this, so we can go ahead and save this and close it. We can get rid of this as well. And then we'll notice that there's two problems here. The first is, obviously the weapon's not lined up, but the second is, you'll notice the camera is now stuck inside the player. That's because the collision is enabled on both of these meshes. We want to disable that, otherwise that's going to cause problems with collision detection when we're moving around in the world. We can also disable generate overlap events. So pop that off, compile, save. You notice that the camera is now back, so next we can go ahead and we can fix the positioning of the lightsaber itself. So let's go and let's try rotating it by like 90 degrees, save, and we see that it's sorta correct, but it's in the wrong direction. So let's rotate that by 180. Try again. Now it's at the correct angle, but the positioning is off. So let's go ahead and make sure that that's zeroed out, which it is. And then we will go ahead and focus on our socket by pressing the F key. And we're going to pull this down slightly. Let's save. See how that looks. No, it's still off by a little bit. We're also going to want to pull this down so that it's a little bit more centered in here, because the center of the object is roughly where the grip is going to be. So we'll compile, save, and we'll see that yeah, that's still a little bit off. So let's pull this down a little bit further. And that doesn't seem to have corrected that much at all. So let's try zeroing these out. There we go, that's a little bit better. But we can see that it's clipping into the hand a little bit, so we will move this a little bit up. Now, actually this is red, so we want to move it along the red axis. So let's try moving it this way. The other way. That's a little too far. So like right here maybe. And then this is the green axis for this way, so we'll go ahead and we will adjust this way a little. No, that's the wrong way. So we'll adjust this up. Back just a little bit. Okay, so that should be good. So now the character is actually holding the weapon. So next thing we'll notice is the blade is really, really long. So we are going to go ahead and go in here, and we are going to adjust the blade by just adjusting the scale. So we will scroll up, disable that, and we will go, let's say, 0.7. Looks a little bit more reasonable. That looks more accurate to the character's height, so we'll go with that. So now we have the character all set up so that they have their weapon. We compiled and saved everything. We can go ahead and close the skeleton out. The next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to set up our events for being able to actually attack with this. So we'll do this very simply. We're going to go in here, and I haven't changed anything in here yet, so we're just going to go here, and we're going to do a event. And we'll do left mouse button. So when we press the left mouse button, we're going to get the mesh, and we're going to do play montage. Now, first thing we're going to notice is we don't actually have a montage to play yet. So let's set one up real quick. And we'll go into here and do one of the root motion animations, and we'll just grab one at random. So let's say we'll do this one. Well, first we want to set up a folder. And yeah, that should be good. So we'll go ahead and right click, and we already set up the retargeting for the bones, so we can just go ahead and do duplicate, select our skeleton, go back in here, go to root motion, go to the mannequin folder, then we can hit retarget, and that'll set that up so that it'll play this animation on the same skeleton as everything else. But it's not going to actually do anything like that. So we're going to right click, create a montage. We'll just leave it as the default name. And we're going to go ahead and open that up. And from here, we're going to go ahead and go into our animation blueprint. And one of the first things that we're going to need to do to make sure that this actually plays our montage is we're going to go in here and we want to get a slot. So when you're playing a animation montage, it plays the montage on a slot node. And for right now, there's only the default, but like if you go onto this tab, you can add additional slots. So you can say, like, if you want to do animations only on like the upper body, you can create a slot like called upper slot, and then you can go in here, and now you can set it up so that it'll go on the upper slot, and then you can go in here and you can change which slot this is actually assigned to. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and leave this as the default slot, and we're going to go back in here and change you back to the default because we want to make sure that this plays on the default, because we want the whole body to animate for when you're swinging the weapon. Otherwise, it looks a little weird when the upper body's animating but the bottom is just standing there. Granted, upper body animations are useful for if you want the character to run around or something, but we're not going to be worrying about that for this tutorial. So our slot set up here, we'll go ahead and compile and save. We can go ahead and close that for right now. We can close that. And in here, we can go ahead and we can select our montage. We only have the one, so it's only going to show this one. So we can go ahead and click that. Now we can hit compile and save. And then we'll go ahead and open a window. And now we got our character, we can run around, and we can swing the lightsaber around. But like one thing you'll notice real quick is the animation is a little finicky because it lets you just keep playing it over and over. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna fix that real quick. Okay, so to fix the animation issue and make sure that it's not gonna play the animation more than once, we're gonna do a little bit of reconfiguring for this. So we're gonna go ahead and give ourselves a little bit more room to work with for this. We're gonna pull this out and we're going to pull off this and do once. And we're not gonna leave it like this because with this setup like this, what's gonna happen is you press the left mouse button, it's going to do the attack, and then it's going to stop and never let you attack again. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a sequence node. And we will go into this one shortly. And then we are going to do a do n node. And this is going to control which attack we are on. So let's say we want to do like a 3 attack combo. We'll set this to 3, and then we will do switch on int, and we can plug that directly into here, and then we will pull you back a little bit. We're going to add 3 nodes here. We're going to set the start index to 1 because our first index off the do n is going to be 1. And we're going to move that up there with the control left click. We'll pull this up, so that'll be attack number 1. We will copy and paste that and then plug that into our 2 node. And then we're going to go back here and we're going to get our next animation. So actually we will do our next 2 animations at the same time. So we'll select both of these. That should be good enough. Duplicate, select our skeleton, go ahead and go into our folder again. Click retarget. Then we'll go in here, click on both of those, and create anim montage, and then just so we don't lose any progress, we'll go ahead and save all. We'll select the first one and we will click here. So now this is attack 03 and the first one is attack 02, and we will control C, control V, hook that up to our 3 output, and then we will go ahead and select attack 04. So now that is attack 04. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set up our delay for resetting this so that we can do our next attack. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull off of here and do delay, and we're going to connect this to the first 2, and do a delay of 0.55. Depending on your animations, you might want to do slightly different delay figures. Because if the animation is longer, you want to make sure that it's going to be longer. If it's shorter, you're going to want to have a shorter delay. That way you can smooth out the attacks from one to the next so it doesn't look like there's a huge gap between each animation. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull off of here and create a different delay, because we want this one to be its own number because it's going to be doing something different. So we're going to pull this back here and double click on these to add some reroute nodes. Pull this up slightly. And then we're gonna copy and paste our sequence node here, and we're gonna have this come all the way back here, and add our reroutes here as well. And then from here we are going to go ahead and have the first output go into reset, and then the second one is going to go into a retriggerable delay, which we're going to set at 2 seconds. And then we're going to have our sequence here go from our second output, and we're going to go ahead and add a rewrap node so this is a little bit easier to read. We'll go ahead and pull these back a little bit. And then we're going to have this one go into another sequence node, and the first output is going to reset our do n node, and then the second output is going to come back up here and it's going to go into our do once output, or input rather, for the reset. And we will go ahead and add in some more reroute nodes to make this look less confusing. And then we're going to have this delay go into this sequence here. I know this might be a little bit confusing, but bear with me. Basically, what we're doing is we're making sure that when we press the attack, the first attack fires off, it'll go through this delay, and once that delay goes through, it'll come back here, it'll reset this so we can attack again, and then it'll set a retriggerable delay, which will set up the reset for our attack combo. So if we go 2 seconds without attacking again, it'll just reset the combo here, and then the next time we attack, it'll do the first attack again. But if we attack again before then, it'll go through, hit the second attack, go through the delay, it'll come back here, it'll set the same delay, it'll reset so we can attack again, and this will be ticked up so that we'll do the third attack. And then on the third attack, it'll come through and it'll go through this delay, which will immediately set it so that our do n is reset, so that we can go back to the first attack again. And it'll make it so that immediately after that, it makes it so we can just attack again right away. Now this isn't the perfect setup, it doesn't take everything into account, but it should make it so that when we compile and save everything and come back in here, now when we click the button, it's not interrupting the animation the same way anymore. and it's letting us do all 3 attacks. And it's doing them in sequence. So now we have our first attack combo. And that's going to do it for this video. In the next video, I'm going to walk through how to set up the traces on the weapon for determining hit detection and actually dealing damage to enemies, because right now we're pretty much just swinging this around and it's not doing anything. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and tackle actually dealing damage with it. So until the next video, bye.